Welcome to Cambodia Business Week. This week we have guests from the large populated and huge market of India who have just come in this morning and are visiting and touring Cambodia, and we'd like to get their opinions on that. But we'd like to talk about e-commerce today and I guess innovation. How do you take a bricks and mortar business and move it, a family business, and move it from bricks and mortar to an e-commerce internet business? So let me introduce Mr. Pradeep Daha, who is the founder of a company called netmeds.com. You should check it out. It's netmeds.com. And Bruce Shrawak. Did I do okay?
Well, it's close.
I have a reputation of doing terrible with names.
It's Pradeep Dada and Bruce Schwack. So you're living up to your reputation. Perfect. Thank you. Great job.
Should try Cambodian names to get
Okay,
started.
I will.
Oh yeah, that'll be tough. That would be tough for me to do a Cambodian name.
No, but this is the joke of the show. Like,
That's
Anthony
good.
can never
It's
pronounce
like
names
we
properly.
couldn't have planned it better. You got them both wrong.
Well,
Nice job.
It's not about my pronunciation. It's about innovation and taking a family business that was 100 years old
Absolutely.
and moving it from a bricks and mortar business to a e-commerce business, which I'm sure our young Cambodian audience would be really interested in. So could you just tell us a little bit about yourselves first, Pradeep?
Sure. So hello Cambodia, and it's a great city, and it's great fun being around here. This is not my first trip, but it's my second or third trip. But I love it here, and things have changed in the last couple of years that I've been around. So definitely, it is moving. I think the last time I was here, I don't think even the internet was this good as how good it has been this time around. So definitely, it's going to help. And I can see is that with internet picking up, there's going to be a big change in terms of how you react and you do things, and internet's going to make a big difference. Like it's made in different parts of the world. Whether you look at China, you look at India, you look at US, a lot of it has actually become more and more digital. And like they say, that your digital profile is far stronger than your physical profile, and you've heard lots of negative reviews on that as well. But the fact being that it's the way that we act and the way that we do things change a lot once technology starts playing about. Now, coming back to your question, I'm taking the business. India is a large country, and with a large population, which is actually spread across a large landmass. The problem in turn of actually building the business, which was pan India or wanting to go across the country, was that you had difficulties in terms of actually reaching and building the last mile or the access points across the country. And retail, again, space was very expensive in the country, so that hindered people from actually going ahead and building a scalable box retail concept. So keeping that as the issue, it was primarily businesses that use technology in India actually were able to break the barrier and build a larger percentile of the market share. Because as it goes, when you don't have technology and when you adopt the latest. When you are that you actually end up adopting technology which is cutting edge at the time actually it comes. So it makes a big difference, and that's how India would just leapfrog development from, if you were to look at retail, from mom and pop straight to online.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the history of the family business?
Sure. We've been over 100 years in the pharmaceutical business as a family. We've been involved with every aspect of the business, starting from retail, import, wholesale, manufacturing. So primarily been across the entire spectrum of how drugs are sold. And at one point, in the early 50s, 40s, 60s, selling drugs and the name Dada were actually synonymous.
Right.
So that's where that's the history if you look at it. And the idea with NetMeds is we want to make meds and medicine again synonymous with NetMeds.
Right. So you're the third generation. Your
Absolutely.
grandfather started the pharma business in India. How did the family take it when you said, okay, we're going to take this traditional model and I'm going to make this an internet business?
If you look at it, basically I have been involved with the technology and internet business I think since 2002, 2003. I've also had the pleasure of having worked for a year at Reliance Infocom, which was one of the largest it was one of the largest innovators that actually came about in 2002, 2003, and again re-innovated the entire company with their in 2014-15. So if you were to look at it, the idea was, since I was in technology, it was always, I had made up my mind that I wanted to do this, but I just wanted to make sure that I do it when the market is opportune. Because a lot of time, things that you do, is also one of the most inherent parts that you have to keep in mind. Is timing makes a bigger point in terms of actually how successful your business is. Everybody works hard. Everybody put in their best efforts in actually building a company. But sometimes a lot of other external factors help in terms of making you what you are.
So the family taking this next evolution into internet, did they have to sell it?
It was more of a natural progression because we were involved in. I had built various other internet related or basically technology support services related businesses and assisted a lot of companies which were doing e-commerce across the world. So it was something that we knew at the back of our minds. It was basically just marrying the two and launching. So it was more of a natural progression, and then things worked out, and we could I think we should be one among the large, if not the largest, one among the largest pharmacies in India, because this data is again on transaction value is not necessarily public, so it's very difficult to predict that.
Right.
But from the brand perspective, I would pretty much be certain that we should be one among the largest brand in the country.
Okay, we'll get back to netmeds.com in a minute. I want to introduce Bruce.
Hello, thank
Bruce,
you.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
I will, but I'll begin by saying it's my second time in Cambodia. The first time I was here for a few hours, and I said, I am coming back to this place. My network, fortunately, includes thousands of people in the U.S. and across India. And anybody who sees this, I want you to discover this really undiscovered gem known as Cambodia. It's really on the rise. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. It's a great buy for tourism. And it's a great open playing field for entrepreneurs who have an idea. So that's what I think about Cambodia.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's
that
great.
was my second question.
Well, that's true. Relating back to what PD was saying, what Pradeep was saying, who we affectionately know as PD, since about...
That would also make it easy for Anthony now to pronounce it right.
Yeah.
With that.
You can't go wrong with PD. Two simple letters.
I only do Italian names.
So, ranging back to really 2002, he and I got together and we started creating global service businesses. And we had that pretty well down when we decided, of course, with PD's lead and the rest of the team who have been together for a long time, following in step quickly and launching our first real Indian consumer-facing operation, taking the talents, the skills, the learning that we had accumulated over about 10 years and launched it toward India, and it's working out.
Just to add one more thing is that today we have close to customers who have, we have a 70%, say more than 70, about 75% of the geography of India where we have delivered customers. So, which is a large penetration for a company which has just not yet had its third anniversary.
Especially the size, the geographic size.
Geographic size and everything is complicated.
Right.
We have, an umpteen number of SKUs that you need to deal with.
And think about that from the consumer perspective. I have spoken to at least 1,000 people over the course of 3 years, and many of them tell me that having access to home-delivered medicine is life-changing. People that were traveling up to 6 hours in a day back and forth to find this affordable modern medicine.
We're going to backtrack because let's talk about the model.
Okay.
So I think we didn't get to the company and how it works. So I'll let Pradeep do that. So what is netmeds.com? What is the services provided and how does it work?
Netmeds.com is primarily India's pharmacy. So basically it is anything like what a brick and mortar pharmacy would be. I look at stores when I was driving around here called UCare Pharmacy.
Right.
It's something similar to that, but the only difference is that instead of having physical stores, the primary store front is primarily on a app or a website or whatever it is, and then you get access to medicine, you get access to over-the-counter products. You get access to FMCG products, and the idea is and then we are also slowly building the community going forward. So apart from this, you also get access to pharmacist counseling. You get access to doctor consulting. You will be getting access to a community of disease-based communities that you can actually interact with. So it would be basically just trying to pool people having a common issue and helping them interact, because every one of us has some learning from certain ailments that we have, which are very different and unique, which can help somebody else, because otherwise he needs to learn or figure it out when he gets along, or when he's actually his journey with it.
And again, to amplify that point, PD is describing the evolution of NetMeds from an e-commerce site to an ecosystem for wellness. And our patients throughout India, many of them are experiencing contact with a physician and real consultation for the first time because NetMeds has empowered that.
Right. So to sort of put it in a nutshell, there is the bricks and mortar capability that if a consumer in India or anybody in India that actually wants to go online to order medicine, prescription medicine, or over-the-counter medicine, is able to go online, search through the different types of, and there's a lot of different types of medicines that you offer.
Yeah.
But provide their prescription,
Right.
digitally providing the prescription.
And then they would put in an order. They would have this. You have a mechanism to check the prescription, obviously, and then there's a home delivery.
Absolutely.
So within I think now average about 1 to 2 days or 2 to 3 days, depending on the geography.
I think it depends on the geography. So
Right.
if you were to look at it, you could get something as fast as next day, going up longer. There's some orders which do get delivered the same day as that, but it all comes back as to what time orders actually kicked in and when it actually gets to.
Now, one of the
Probably the most, our model suits the people who are primarily on chronic medication.
So they're able
or
to
chronic
plan their
diseases.
purchases.
It's a planned purchase because that's what they want to look at.
you're also doing a subscription model as well, right?
Yeah, we're just going to be launching a subscription one.
That's fantastic. And these elements are just about covers everything, right? It covers all types.
Most of them, but if you look at primarily, if somebody is, just got a flu and is in a bad state and goes and sees a doctor and gets an antibiotic for it, that is something which usually the neighborhood pharmacy would take care of. People who would come to us are people like who are diabetic, cardiovascular diseases, and who are on either the statin or who are into metformin or some other vitagliptin or sitagliptin or one of the other sugar controlling drugs which are on a long-term basis. They are the people who would actually come and buy from us.
Okay. So, Pradeep, what made you do this? Because your family business, as we said, was traditionally bricks and mortar business. What drove you to do this?
I was, what drove me to do this is primarily my grandfather had built a business which commanded high esteem in India as being one of the largest and the most reputed, pharmaceutical retailers and wholesalers in the country. So the fact was that I wanted to try and see if we could get back the glory for the family. And so, the idea was to go ahead and build something in new age and be at the right brims and with the right business model which could actually enable that to happen.
Right. And one of the things that I noticed as well in India was the late adaptation of the e-commerce platforms.
It was what I called the holy grail of e-com. It was
Right.
the last hanging objective of everybody who was in the e-com game, was to crack this pharmacy nut. And I'll tell you that...
Just to add to that is that, India started adopting to e-commerce in 2014, 13-14.
And if you look back in the U.S., when did it happen in the U.S.? In the 90s?
US started in 90s, but if you look at adoption, was more, in late 2000 was when the adoption numbers were really picking up.
Right.
So if you look at Amazon's history, it's like, and today the market where Amazon takes pride in saying that the maximum number of subscribers that it adds on to their Prime, the Prime subscription is primarily from India.
Wow. But
I just read that a few days back. So that's
Yeah, but and the point I was making too, this was a tough nut to crack because we faced not only extant industry opposition. Of course, the guys want to protect their turf, but also regulatory. But that we have flipped it on its ear.
So what's internet penetration like in India? What percent?
I think
600 million?
no, it's not yet 600 million, but I think it is expected to go to 600 million.
Right. And smartphones are
Smartphones are 600 million.
That will be it. Yeah.
because people have three. Or
Some have two, some have three.
yeah. So are people beginning to use the smartphone? Because here it's very popular.
Oh, it's very popular. I think India is the smartphone capital of the world.
Okay. And are
I think India, China, and but primarily all these countries are big users.
Yeah, and I think
and what made a difference for India for telecom was Jio, which is which actually brought down the pricing, and I think it had a world record for reaching 100 million subscribers the fastest. Right. It was within a year that I think within a few months that they were at 100 million.
Now, are India? We now WhatsApp's largest consumer?
I don't know.
We are.
Yeah. Okay, that's
we have the largest user base of Facebook also in India.
India is the largest Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, this is music to everybody's ears here because Cambodians are addicted to Facebook. They love it. I mean, for us, Facebook is also a means of getting news.
Absolutely, it's just getting. I think it's all getting a little tightened up now. I think with what happened with Facebook and CA. So, but I guess things.
But I don't think it rocked Facebook's boat at all.
In fact, I think he got. The stock went up after the
No, but he got a lot of free publicity because people who had forgotten about what you could see at Facebook were also logging on to figure it out more. Like there's an old saying, any publicity is good publicity.
That's right. That's right.
There's a joke going around India right now. Mark Zuckerberg was recently there, and he ran through a red light and slammed into Rashid, who jumped out of the car and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "You're Rashid, aren't you? I know what sites you went on last night." And Rashid said, "Well, why don't we just forget about this?"
What are the important metrics for your business? How do you measure the success of your business? What is the things that you look at that are important for an e-commerce business? Because just so you know, here in Cambodia, we've been sort of debating an e-commerce law for ever. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping to get some legal legislation in place. Hopefully, after the elections, we'd see that. There's a very nascent stage here of people doing e-commerce. One of the problems that we've had in the past is we haven't had payment systems to do that. So now we're seeing payment systems come, like PiPay. I don't know if you've seen PiPay. You haven't been just arrived, but anyway, you'll see in a lot of the retail outlets that you could pay by mobile phone by something called PiPay, and there's one called Wing. So we're evolving. But doing e-commerce in Cambodia is still very difficult. It's still very difficult because we don't have laws and the payment system mechanisms really aren't linked yet. So we have things like Book Me Bus, which you can book bus tickets online. We don't have a high penetration of credit cards here. So if we're talking to the audience and we're very tech savvy.
I think what made India adopt to e-commerce was cash and delivery. So I don't know whether that's a model that is prevalent and is used. And in India, even today, cash and delivery is a large portion, large reason. See, that's basically, if you look at e-commerce, it's going to be internet penetration, payment ease, and good logistics delivery system. Investments in these three are required for it to succeed. What happened for companies like us, which made it easier, was Amazon and Flipkart, which could soon be Walmart in India. These two companies laid the foundation with a lot of investment in trying to build the category. So because of that, we got, apart from these two, you also had, Paytm, which is basically owned pretty majority by Alibaba, or Alipay, which actually ended up building a very strong foundation of, the digital payment. And also one more thing which made a big difference in India is if you look at it in late 2015 or 16 is when Trump was elected on 16th, right? Yeah. So 2016 on I think November 8th or November 10th, I don't remember the exact date, is November 8th is when India went through a demonetization as well.
Right.
So when it went through demonetization, a lot of payments were again forced to go digital. And the Indian government's push has also been very strong for digital. So those were also enablers to actually help the entire digital economy.
So having the government actually being behind that and supportive was
the Indian government is very supportive of a digital economy. because they understand that that's the future and that's what's going to enable the economy going forward. And that's the reason, like a regulation or clarity on how to sell pharmaceutical products has also come alive is because of that reason, because of the push of the government for a digital economy.
Yeah. So as a majority shareholder in your company as well, how do you measure success of the company itself?
I think the measurement of success for me is that first, like every other business, you start making money at the transaction, then you make money to take care of your marketing, then you make money to take care of your corporate overheads, and the fourth one is when you make actual money that goes into your pocket.
Making money important, but what sort of other metrics do you look at?
I'll tell you, if you look at it, it's going to come back to what do we say, visits on the site, conversion. It's going to be your what do we say, repeat rates, because our business is primarily based on repetitive rate. What are the customers that actually end up sticking on with you? So if you were to look at it, these are few of the main parameters that you would see. It's going to be customer retention rate. It's going to be customer satisfaction rate. It's going to be traffic, growth in various other aspects, and continuous improvements in every aspect of your business. That's what you need to track. And since we are in the digital business, you're able to track every bit, and you need to make sure that every function improves.
You started in 2015.
Yes.
And now we're it's almost 3 years.
Yes, almost 3 years.
June anniversary.
June anniversary. What kind of growth rates do you expect? Orders being very important. What kind of growth rates?
So if you look at it, we've been at a very good double-digit growth rate on a CAGR basis since inception. And if you were to look at what we plan to do for the next year also, is we want to look at trying to see if we can grow between 15 to 20% on a month-on-month basis.
On a month-on-month basis.
Yeah.
That must sound incredible.
We don't in the internet business in India, we don't have any annual growth rate. It's only month-on-month growth rate is what everybody looks at.
A month-on-month, 15 to 20% per month.
That is what we want to grow at.
That's quite amazing. It's those you don't hear those kind of figures in any kind of business except for the internet business.
But I guess if you look at it, that's also because of the fact is that you can scale faster.
Yeah, and you have a huge population.
It's easier to scale, so that's the reason you look at that sort of penetration numbers. And if you were to look at a study, even if you look at even today, if you look at it that way, even Amazon is yet growing in terms of revenue, right?
Right.
In spite of so many years.
And in our industry, less than a percentage of the marketplace has shifted paradigm and come to this new e-com model of purchasing medicine online.
I want to talk a little bit about competition as well. But I think I heard somewhere, you probably know this better than I did, it's like 38,000 pharma sites in the U.S.
The 38,000 registered pharma sites, is it that many?
Pharma? No, there are only 750 approved registered pharma
maybe
sites.
like 38,000.
Oh,
that could be 38
there are
million then.
probably there are probably 1 million sites worldwide selling pharma worldwide.
But 700 registered is a
Registered.
pretty high number. So
Well, actually, to be a registered online pharmacy in the U.S., you must also have a brick and mortar facility. There are no pure internet plays.
So if you look at in India also, the new regulation is pretty much similar,
Like
where
that,
you need
yeah.
to have a brick and mortar facility, and then you get an additional registration that enables you to sell online. That's how it's there in the UK, how it's in the US.
Right.
so how do you view your competition, and how do you stay ahead of the game?
I think the first thing is at this point, I think the first aspect in a high growth business is category creation, where everybody is working towards getting a mind share.
Which means we're more collaborators than competitors.
Everybody is collaborating more than competing, because everybody is continuing to grow. And the fact that you have to keep in mind, if the industry on the whole is growing at 10%, you need to grow at higher than 10%, then you're in a good state. And competition would actually start getting in once everybody reaches a particular critical size. At this point, like we're less than 1% of the total market segment. So there is so much more that actually we as a group are
online and offline.
I'm just talking online is 1% and offline is 99%.
Right.
So if you were to look at it, the competition is primarily going to be online versus offline at the first level.
Right.
The second level will be between online then.
So how do you convert the customer from being off? It's the industry, it's not you specifically. How does the industry convert the customer from being offline to online?
It's a penetration of consciousness, and we watch these customers reach a tipping point.
So it's just to add, it's also got to do with India being a large country, access also gets sometimes difficult. I'm sure it'll be the same story with Cambodia. It's relatively a decently large sized country for a population of 15 million. So, if you were to get out of Phnom Penh and drive 2 hours into, 2 hours into the highway and go towards some rural or semi-urban areas, you might not have all the stuff that you get at UCare pharmacy that easily available there.
Oh, sure. I mean, you drive half an hour out of the city, and you're beginning really to hit
So,
farmland.
so the biggest issue for people to wanting to look is access. So because they're able to suddenly get access to what a city has.
Right, and building that awareness of
The problem is building the category, which is expensive, and building the mindshare. Being the first one is always difficult, and it takes time. And going ahead and building that is the most complex bit. And then everybody knows this, right? And I'm sure a lot of places yet at least in my age and my time, people used to the photocopying machine was invented by Xerox. But a lot of time people used to just call it, can you please Xerox this for me?
Sure.
I'm sure it would have been, you would have noticed it also.
That I remember, yes. I'm that old. Or your Hoover or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm only saying that, today there are more than a dozen copying machines. But
Right.
people just remember
Right. Xerox.
Xerox.
Right. But so actually you have a fantastic opportunity for the rural part of the country because the access to those medicines aren't there.
And the problem with the urban is time and convenience. Everybody doesn't have time, and it's not aspect of going ahead, parking, and busy cities of India where there's so much traffic and parking issues.
And I make this point for both of us in real life. Our offices are in a mall, the biggest mall there is, and yet when we want things, we go to Amazon.
No, I'll tell you why you need, because it's a problem in the offline world, which is just because the way it is. You don't know whether you're going to get the right size when you walk into the store. That's the issue, why it does is because, maintaining the inventory, because you don't know exactly what you require. But when you're on an offline or virtual inventory, you're able to cater with that same item to somebody who's not in the immediate, market that we could get to. For example, I'm in Phnom Penh, but when somebody in Siam Reap is looking for this one particular kind of medicine which is not available, he's able to access it and get it. Otherwise, if he had to go and look around, and if that product was not available in Siam Reap, he would have had to just keep looking, and not have a solution to find it.
So I think looking at the sort of future, if we're seeing what's happening in the U.S., where you're having these big Kmart's and Sears are beginning to start closing their stores, Targets, I think they're reducing because people are not shopping in malls anymore. They're going online. Is this a premonition for what's going to happen in India?
If you look at it, Walmart is actually buying India's largest marketplace, as per reports. It's not confirmed as yet. It would be a majority shareholder in Flipkart, which is what changed India.
How did Flipkart change? I mean, just
because Flipkart was the first one. It was prior to Amazon is when they did. They invented cash on delivery pretty much. Actually, if you look at it, and then they built a business which became a mammoth, and got. They were the first business that actually built in I think around 14-ish, I think, where they came up with this campaign called a billion day sale, where they clocked revenues close to $1 billion in those 3 days.
Wow.
And carpet bombed advertising. It was pervasive advertising. Flipkart just became part of the vernacular.
And a lot of the fact also was discounting. In the initial bits, a lot of what do we say? The businesses were built on the basis of pricing being better than at the store, and then build it. It's all about getting the person hooked on and start using it, and then so that he realizes the benefits out of it, and then he will not get out of it.
Which actually makes a great point about us and where we're going and what we need to accomplish is make the brand more important than the price. That's where we're heading.
So now we're gonna get some of your expertise over the many years that you've been in the businesses. So in Cambodia, we're learning, and we are really learning about how to treat and value a customer. And this is still an evolution in Cambodia because customer service is becoming the consciousness of customer service is becoming very important and very much a differentiator. So how do you treat and value your customers, and what type of customers? What's your philosophy on customer service?
It's just the oldest tenet, at least in the last couple of decades, is the concept of the never satisfied customer. Understanding that a customer today has the ability to leave you in an instant, and to treat them royally, and to treat, the old adage that the customer is always right, 100% right. And we instill in every employee that will touch the customer, whether it's by chat, voice, email, they are the brand. And they're honoring the customer and empathizing with the customer is the greatest gift they can give the company and ensure the company's longevity, just by really honoring the customer. It's like PD said before, the greatest of metrics is rate of retention. Only by retaining the mass of your customers can you grow your base and reduce your cost of acquisition. So honoring the customer, treating him royally, specially, is the kind of customer service that it also makes customers become your evangelists and get off the phone and say, boy, that was great.
And the idea is it's all about getting the process working, which is like it's like clockwork. So you know that this is how it's going to move and this is what's going to happen, and bringing a sense of predictability into the way your business functions, and that the customer and there is transparency that he is able to understand and look at it, also is one of the key factors in helping grow the business.
So I once worked for a very big company called Citibank for a very long time, and we
quite a brand, quite a brand there too.
It's like 17 years. So,
yeah.
But one of the things that was reinforced from the top always was customers and employees. So the importance of keeping both those very, very happy. And I want to talk to you, Pradeep, about employees. How do you get the best people? What sort of culture do you have in terms of your employees?
It's primarily it's a pretty young employee base, except on maybe if you were to look at the average age on the senior management could be a little skewed towards more in the maybe late 30s, early 40s.
I might impact that.
Yeah. But if you were to look at it, otherwise it's a young kind of young employee strength, which is just looking at it's all about building a community. It's like building a community of customers. You need to build a community of people working for you and who imbibe and understand what you're doing and stand for it.
Okay. So
and along with that, we have very strict gender equity standards. A lot of our department heads are women. Pay equity is 100%, and we believe that women are vital to the workforce and a vital part of the marketplace, and it all works as part of that.
Okay, so I know you have visited Cambodia only twice. We're a very young market here, but we're growing quite robustly for the last 20 years at about an average rate of 7%. What would be your advice to an entrepreneur? Cambodians tend to want to do their own business. They'll work for companies at least a short time, and those that are certainly the more educated as well will want to go out and do something. And e-commerce is becoming, tech is where it's at with us these days.
Sure. My only advice to them is try and identify an opportunity and build a model where you have a potential where you can monetize the business, and never get too emotionally involved with the business, because at some point you might have to take a call which might not be the best call for the interest of emotions, but maybe the best call of the business.
Oh, very interesting. It's the first time I've heard an entrepreneur say that. And your advice?
My advice would be to make sure you recognize that there's a difference between an idea and a great idea. I hear lots of ideas. I'm asked to mentor business startups and entrepreneurial groups all the time, and you just have to really be able to focus and know that it is really a great idea and that there is a market for what you intend to market. And the second thing is, make sure somebody besides your family and friends thinks it's a good idea.
And a lot of things, just to add, is internet and technology has in the last few years has all been about reinventing yourself rather than purely being an invented idea. So it's about the same idea, but it's about if you can improve the process, you can reduce the cost, you can do better aspect as to what the customer is looking, is what you need to focus on. And it doesn't need to be an original idea. That's what I'm
let me ask that question, because you did this in 2015, and obviously we said there was,
Internet in India has been built. I just in this sector, I was one of the first ones. We were the first ones to actually have done it. So I have not done anything new.
right.
If you look at it, my role model is Amazon.
So there's nothing wrong with replicating.
Absolutely.
And-
So,
and
let's
improving.
get to the fact. Was Google the first search engine in the country, which is a $1 trillion company?
Absolutely not.
Was
Again.
Alibaba the first, what do we say, what do we say, social platform, or commerce platform in the country, in the world, sorry, or in China? Was WeChat the first, what do we say, the guy who invested in instant messaging? Was Facebook the first social platform in the world?
I think it was Netscape. Was it Netscape?
Yeah.
No, I mean, was the search?
No,
was the
no,
search?
it's MySpace.
MySpace was, yeah. So there's nothing wrong with replicating an idea.
Well, listen,
Well, what makes it? The question is then, what's the trigger, the catalyst that actually makes it
No, it's
more
about
successful?
most of these companies have done a better job, and continue to build and make it more easier for the user, and are continually innovating. Most aspect of any of the businesses, you need to keep innovating. The moment you stop innovation in technology business, you will die.
All right. Well, thank you for spending so much time with us. We're delighted that you're
It's our
visiting
pleasure.
Cambodia, and we're delighted that you shared your ideas. It's amazing. So we're very happy. We hope you come back to Cambodia again.
We'll be here
For
soon.
sure, for
We
sure.
hope you invest in Cambodia.
We will do that too.
And we'll see you next week on Cambodia Business Week. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Awesome, thanks.